Hi, everybody. I pushed this one right to the end of the month, eh? November's Comix review on November 28th. I think 28th? 28th. Whew. If that's even the day I posted, it may be tomorrow before I post it. But anyways, we got a big batch of turtles this month, so let's get at it. First up, number 30 of the continuing Saturday Morning Adventures series. So in this one, it's a new storyline. Seymour Guts, a well-meaning but kind of a blowhardy kind of guy, is on a date with a female love interest at a restaurant, and they're talking and whatever, and then all of a sudden he touches the waiter or something like that, and the waiter turns into a mutant, and he's like, blah! And so he was formerly known as the Mutagen Man, but he was thought to have been cured. So he, I think, touches one or two other people, turns them into mutants, and then runs out like, oh my god, what have I done? Not this again! And so then April O'Neil is on the scene afterwards talking to one of the guys affected and being like, oh, you just touched me and I turned into this. So Turtles are watching this on TV and they go, oh no, Seymour, he's regressed or whatever. Like he's back to doing it or whatever. So the Turtles go to Professor MacGuffin's office, and he's currently examining one of these mutants that was turned by the Mutagen Man. And they ask, like, have you ever heard of this before? Like, and MacGuffin's kind of flabbergasted by it, and they're like, how do we find him? I mean, do you have something that can track him? So he gives them a device, so they track down the Mutagen Man. But in the meantime, Shredder and Krang have seen this and go, ooh, somebody we can use to turn people into mutants for us, and we don't have to waste any of our precious ooze? Well, let's find this guy. So then it becomes a race. The Turtles first find Mutagen Man and are like, we're going to help you out, bro. We're going to cure you. But then Shredder and Krang arrive on the scene and start whispering promises to him. And the Turtles are like, don't believe him, Seymour. And Seymour does kind of side with the Turtles. But Shredder and Krang wrestle him away and escape with Mutagen Man. And as this issue ends, Seymour ended up touching Michelangelo. And the last thing we see is Michelangelo turn into a hideous freak. Like, he's still mostly himself, but he's got half of his head is like a house fly, and he's got a fly leg and a fly wing. So Mikey has had a rough day, let's just say that, at the end of this adventure. So it's going to be a two-parter at least, because we're going to see hopefully the conclusion of it next month, right? Next up, I was super excited for this new sub-series, Shredder #1 and Shredder #2. So this one starts off with a couple of guys, government guys or whatever, monitoring something from a van on the street. They're monitoring the old Foot Clan headquarters. Suddenly there's an old man in their way in front of the Foot Clan building, blocking their van sort of thing. And the one guy's like, go get rid of this guy. And the guy's like, old man, beat it. We're, I can't remember the excuse he uses, but get out of here. And he's like, oh, don't worry, I'm on my way home. So then this guy walks into the old Foot Clan headquarters, and the guys in the van are like, what the fuck is he doing? This guy gets in there, encounters a couple ninjas. They confront him, and he's like, haha, bam, 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 takes them down. It's Shredder. He's a bit older. He's got long hair. He looks kind of disheveled. Eventually, this girl comes up to him and kind of subdues him with some sort of power she has. And she's like, you don't know who I am, do you? She's like, I used to study under you in the Foot Clan. I remember the one day you corrected my elbow position. I was so proud that you paid any attention to me. And she's like, now look how far you've fallen. I've seen your struggle. And she's showing flashbacks of him in, I think, Dimension Z or something like that. And how far you've had to fight and claw to get back here. But she's like, you could rest here. You could join us or whatever. And Shredder's like, nuh-uh. But in the meantime, as he was fighting the ninjas when he first got into the Foot Clan headquarters, he fired a couple of them out of a window. They landed on top of the van with the guys. And so they were like, it's time to act. So they raid the building. This girl takes off. There's no sign of her. And everybody else in the building, Shredder's basically killed. So these guys are like back at the headquarters. The guy's like, how could you botch this fucking mission, boys? Like, this guy comes in and kills everybody. And whoever this girl gets away. And so basically they take Shredder into custody and try to get information out of him and out of him on who this girl is. I forget what they call her. Something that starts with an M. But anyways, she's obtaining components for a bomb, some very unique components for a bomb. So they know she's up to no good, and they want Shredder to help them, but they also don't want to let him off the leash. So this girl named Agent Avon or something like that is kind of appointed to be his minder, and she's like, guys, if he wanted to escape this custody right now, he'd be gone. So just relax. We'll work with him, and things will be fine. So in the second issue, he ends up going to a bar on the Lower East Side, I believe, where he wants to find information on King Cobra, I think the guy's name is. He's this guy that wears like a kind of like Serpentor for G.I. Joe. He's got like an insect or snake type helmet with a green cape and gold, you know what I mean? Looking like very snakish, right? And he's rumored to wear the helmet because he's got a mutated, hideous face, and he runs this underground criminal network sort of thing. So Shredder wants to find this guy because he thinks maybe this girl is using King Cobra's network to obtain and move these components for this bomb. So Shredder eventually, in this bar, ferrets out King Cobra's location, goes to find him, and King Cobra's like, haha, your Foot Clan is not so mighty now, eh? And he's like, dispose of him, boys. But Shredder takes down all the guy's goons, and then he hops on top of King Cobra, and King Cobra's like, no, wait, sorry. And so Shredder removes the guy's mask. He's just a normal dude. He doesn't have a hideous mutated face. But Shredder leaves him with one in the end. Let's just go with that. So then he takes off into the shadows after he disfigures King Cobra. And then back at headquarters after, Agent Avon is getting reamed out by her supervisor saying, like, you took him on this mission and now he's gone. We don't even have him. And then all of a sudden she's like, wait, do you hear that? And then it's the sound of Shredder honing his blades in his room in the station or whatever. So he came back, and so everything's fine other than the fact that he ripped this guy's face off. But I mean, the guy was a criminal, so who gives a fuck, right? Meh. Next up, the 2025 Ninja Turtles Annual. Big, thick issue. Basically, it takes place sometime after, remember when all four of the Turtles were separated on their own adventures and then came back together but couldn't get along and were going through all that strife? It's sometime after that, and they're getting along better. They're out breaking up some gang activity. They come back to the sewers, and they're having pizza and whatever. And so that, like, Donnie's encouraging them all to share their stories of when they were out on their own. So Mikey tells a story about when he was filming a movie. They filmed on some sort of sacred mountain, and Mikey got attacked by this mutant. It was like a hawk or an eagle or something, that kind of was resentful towards Mikey, the actor, for desecrating this mountain. So they got into a big battle, and then the mutant actually made Mikey kind of rethink his position of going on with acting and kind of the fake life that he was leading, right, when he used to be such an honorable ninja warrior, right? And then Raph shares a quick story about him and Pepperoni's adventures when they were on the road trip through Reno or Vegas or wherever the hell they were. And then Donnie encourages Leo to share because Leo's been acting really funny, really sulky. So Leo shares a story about four brothers who ran some sort of company. I forget their names. And one of them was abducted by, that was turned into a mutant by the mutagen bomb. He was abducted by a anti-mutant militant group, and his three brothers, which were still human, were killed at the scene of the abduction. So Leo's on the high seas going to rescue this guy on this ship that he's being transported on. So he gets in, finally gets to the guy and rescues him, and the guy's like, oh yeah. And then eventually he turns on Leo and he's like, my brothers just wanted to protect me. They didn't think I could run the company, but I think we could do things better. We could sell weapons. So then Leo's like, what? He's like, and then he finds out that this guy, his brothers weren't killed by the militant group. this guy killed his own three brothers when he became the mutant, and they didn't agree with him on the direction of the company. So then it breaks into a big fight, and Leo has to escape the ship with his life, right? And coming back to the current, when with the turtles in the sewer after he's relayed this story, he suddenly freaks out, and because Donnie went through all that stuff and he's so weak and feeble now, right? And Leo's pissed. He's like, I couldn't protect him and I couldn't protect you, Donnie. So Leo's dealing with all this guilt about not being able to protect people and save them, sometimes from themselves. And basically the most guilty thing he feels is how he wasn't able to protect his own brother Donnie. So that's why he's been acting so crappy, basically. Last up, issue 12 of the ongoing regular Turtles series. So in this one, remember at the end of the last issue, District Attorney Hale had turned into a mutant freak and was chasing the Turtles through the streets. So basically it begins with, actually there's one page of Karai still trying to do that ceremony or spell or whatever it was she was looking for that eventually turned her into the mutant dragon freak or whatever it was, right? But then it gets on with the Turtles trying to beat down Hale. Nice long drawn out fight. They eventually get the better of him and he's put into containment. And afterwards the Turtles go back to the sewers and they have the little dead rat that Donnie always thought was Master Splinter. So they do a ceremony to kind of put it to rest. So some sort of mystical thing happens that Donnie's able to do. A green flash goes, they kind of get, whoa, and then the little dead rat turns into a pile of ash. And they were like, I saw Master Splinter, I saw him, he was there, whatever. So they kind of take this as an omen that Master Splinter has found peace in the afterlife. So they hit the streets afterwards. The town is crazy about the Turtles. They're on billboards everywhere after, taking down Hale, after Hale's dirty activities were exposed that he was the enemy, not the Turtles. And they just kind of walk the streets like everything's cool now. But the issue ends on one last page of panels with Karai, and she's like complaining that she hasn't been able to complete this spell or whatever, but then suddenly through a portal she sees Master Splinter standing there, and all of a sudden she's like, ha, 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 ha. So Splinter may be still alive, but he may have to deal with Karai.